Hi everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition, and today we are going to do a quick video on playing something backwards and hearing a message. And I heard this, actually I heard on the Y-Files, which is a tremendous channel to watch, especially if you have very linear people that you want to open up a little bit. You know, there are certain things that we can give to someone that's kind of ingrained a little bit in human consciousness, but a little open to something else. They're ingrained, yet they're open. You know, there's a little crack there. They're pretty well entrenched with a little crack. The Secret is another great book for very kind of, also that book really materialistic in a sense, but it's still a way to open people up, right? And the Y-Files is a great channel to kind of open people up to different things that they might not be open to, right? And it's kind of fun. So, but there are certain things you can listen to, and I can listen to certain things, and I can kind of run it through my data banks in a sense, and go, okay, how does that feel to me? You know, and backwards speak was a pretty cool one. So basically, they were just talking about if you play something backwards, it tells you what someone's really thinking, right? And that was the human perception of the video, right? If you play anyone's dialogue backwards, it will then tell you the truth. Because what they're telling you, if you think what they're telling you is not the truth, it gives you their subconscious meaning. Now, is this true? What is the subconscious? So let's start with how unconsciously we read something, right? It's not how our human thinks. It's funny because the human will believe there's something encoded in our speech, which there is, but it tries to put words to it, right? And it wants to hear a word because that's how the human is going to understand it, right? So immediately it's trying to filter out a wording in here that makes sense, because that's what it's trying to do. Our field, our energy field reads everything, okay? And people will talk about how the human brain can compute so much when they use such a small part of it. That's beyond nothing compared to what our energy field can do. So don't think about it so much as the brain, because we go really from our higher heart, we open up our higher heart, we open up our heart, then we open up our higher heart, then we go to higher mind consciousness, and that's when everything starts to make a little more, we start getting in a lot more information, we start unlocking a lot more information. So everything somebody says is encoded with their unconscious. I don't want to use the word truth here because truth changes, but what they're really saying. But it's not words. Our human's going to want to hear it as words, right? Because when you try to break it down and break it up, and what science tries to do, what our human consciousness tries to do, it's the frequency of what someone's saying. And that is why you get certain bells and whistles that set off within you when someone's talking to you. And it don't even have to be talking. And that's even the kind of more interesting part in this. They don't even have to be talking. They can be sitting next to you, and you're getting a dump and a download of everything going on with them. You know, you don't, and that's why, you know, some people you might feel like, oh, I'm going to start a conversation with this person. Other people you might feel, well, I don't feel like I really need to. I'm kind of I don't really feel like that's necessary. Depending on the roles you're going to play with this person, a lot of it goes into. There's a lot of things that go into that, whether you talk to them or not. It doesn't really matter, because like I said, everything's going on energetically. You can't hide anything. Anyone thinks they're hiding something is living in a world, in an imaginary world. You can't hide anything. It's all right there. Now, in your human consciousness, when that's the aspect of you that's making choices, you're going to hear everything through your subconscious. So you're just going to get an inkling that that person's lying to me, right? Doesn't feel right. Or the most famous one we'll say as humans is, oh God, I knew better, but I did it anyway. You know, I knew better, but I went ahead and I did it, and I knew I shouldn't have, but I did it anyway. Because we were getting an unconscious message. Our unconscious was trying to tell us that what they're saying is not what they mean. They are, you know, downright lying to you right now. Now, do they know they're lying? Maybe. Maybe they even don't know they're lying. Maybe they really thought they would do what they said they were going to do. From what I have been able to, as more I raise my consciousness, my body's vibration, and I'm able to hone in on things more and more and more, most of the time people don't actually know they're lying. But you can see the programming, and you start to be able to see the programming and everything in place that's going to get in the way of them doing what they say they're going to do. It's not so much they're lying, it's just there's so many things going on within them that they can't see, that you'll have the visibility into seeing because of the consciousness level you're at, that you'll be able to understand. It's not so much they're lying intentionally. They just are not going to be able to do that because they're not in the space yet to be able to do that. They've got too many other counter things running to be able to fulfill that commitment they just made. As humans, we feel it unconsciously. We register it somewhere. We keep going. The more you ascend your consciousness and your body's consciousness, it's your subconscious is now your consciousness. There's nothing to hide. You get it all straight away. I don't have to talk to someone. I don't have to hear what they have to say. I understand just by being in their field. If it's something I'm interested in, do I get it? Even if I'm not interested in getting it, sure. Will I hone in on it more? If it's something if I'm thinking about maybe starting a podcast with this person or doing some kind of thing with this person, yes, I'm going to hone in on it more. But you're going to get it anyway. You get it all. And that's why when these things start opening up, it can feel very overwhelming because you don't realize how much you're computing. How much is going on, especially when you're by yourself, how much you can get. You can think about someone, all of a sudden someone pops in your head and they were right about to call you and they just popped in your head. And you're like, oh, well, that's why. Did they just pop in my head because they were about to call me? Well, yeah, because they were making, in their field, they're sending off that message, so you already got it. Some people pick up the messages at different times. But when you're really honed in, and not so much concentrating, it's really, for me, it's just going about my day. I pick up on stuff all the time, and you'll find you're going to do the same thing. The feeling is more important. Like, are humans going to want to assign words to it? Are humans going to want to try to make some logical sense out of it? It doesn't matter. It's the feeling. It's how do you feel? What's the frequency you're getting? The frequency is what it's encoded in the frequency of the tone of what they're talking about. Don't listen to someone's words because there are messages in there. That's why the backwards speech thing kind of got me going, because I'm like, oh yeah, because there's encoded in what everybody's saying. It's just not encoded the way our human thinks it's encoded. It's the tone and the frequency they're talking in. That tells you everything. Words don't matter. And that's why we've had a lot of videos on talking about being in someone's energy field and how if you don't talk to a person, you feel like, oh gosh, I really wanted to talk to this person, I didn't. So, nothing happened. The reality's not going anywhere. Pish posh, it doesn't matter. The reality's going everywhere. Being in the same space with that person, your energy fields are exchanging information. They're exchanging data. They're trying to figure out, hey, are we going to be able to have a reality together? Are we still not ready yet? Do we still have things to clean up? Do you have things to clean up over here in your yard? Things to clean up over here in this reality? Let's come back in 4 or 5 months. We'll be in the same room again and we'll see how it works. Can we now have a reality? It's called the cosmic dance. A lot of people refer to it as the cosmic dance because you're trying to line up your frequencies to see what can we do. Is it time for us to fulfill, this reality, or it's just not going to happen? The words don't matter. Know that everyone who's talking is sending off a message. Everybody. Hone in on what they're saying through feeling it. Listen to the tones. And even if you don't get it in the beginning, because there's also something where everything, we talked about the dream world before. In the beginning, it feels like it speaks through metaphors, and it really doesn't anymore because you understand the language, right? So what might at first felt like it was convoluted, it's not convoluted anymore. It's the same thing when you get really in tune with your field. The messages, they're not metaphorical anymore. They're just freaking messages. You don't have to try to decode them like we do in the beginning. Because we just understand. because we now speak the language. You know, it's now the universal language you're understanding. It's the frequencies and the tones. That's the universal language. That's a universal speech in a sense. And that's what we hone in on. And that's what we are all of a sudden like, oh, I understand that more now. You know, I don't maybe know why I'm not going to go into business with this person, but there's something I know that's just, it doesn't feel right. It just does not feel right. So be open. And if you're not getting anything, you're getting it subconsciously. So even if in that moment you're having the conversation, you don't get it, and you go back and reflect on that conversation later, be open to what you get. Be open to how you feel about it then. Because that's gonna, when I said earlier we don't all get it at the same time, we don't all pick up the message at the same time because everyone's at a different frequency. Everyone's doing something else. If you're in, everyone's brainwave state is not in the same place at all the time. If you're still living in a very beta brainwave state, which is the human brainwave state pretty much, you might not be able to be open. Your brainwave state is not going to be able to pick up that message. You're in more of an alpha state, which could be why you're sleeping. You might feel like you get the message more when you're sleeping, because that's when your mind calms down. Eventually your brainwave state through ascension, it shifts and you get more into an alpha, a delta, even a gamma state, and you don't require the sleep state to bring it in. You're going to be less dependent on that state to get your messages, you know. I find now I need the sleep state more depending on how much higher it is in the frequency for me to get it. So, okay. I'll clarify that, I guess, in another video, but I did want to keep this one short because it's just kind of a little fun one I thought I'd throw in. Okay, keep practicing the art of intuition.